Very good day, everyone. This is Wael Ibrahim from the Aware Academy, and this is a very, very special interview / conversation / episode that I'm really thrilled about. I have here my two dear friends, Holly Ann Martin from Perth, Catherine Lyell from Melbourne, and we are here to discuss about something really weird for some, and that is, please help me out.
Pornography.
Pornography. Ooh, and so we will try to discuss today things related to the harmful impacts of pornography. Before digging or getting into the discussion, I'll let everyone to introduce themselves first. My name is Wael Ibrahim, as I mentioned earlier. I'm the co-founder of the Aware Academy. It's an organization that was established and founded by Dr. Mohammed Abdul from Egypt, who had a simple vision, and that is to discover or rediscover ourselves without the impact of pornography. The idea now flourished throughout the world. We will talk about it in details later on. Now to you, Holly.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Holly Ann Martin from Safe for Kids, and I teach a protective education program to children across Australia from 3 to 17. And the reason that I got into talking about this was I stand in front of about 5,500 children a year. And in the last 5 years, with the children having access to technology, the things that they were telling me was really concerning. So I wrote 2 children's books to help parents talk to children about pornography from the age of 6.
Beautiful. Hi everyone, I'm Catherine Lyell from Melbourne. I'm a men's health and porn addiction specialist. I specialise in mental health, sexual health and porn and sex addiction. And I've done some research recently, and it's 97% of men are watching porn regularly. So regularly being anything over more than once a month is classified as regular. Even if you only do it that much, you've been doing it for 30 years. So we're talking about long-term effects, we're talking about short-term effects. It's the number one cause of erectile dysfunction, it's the number one cause of mental health issues, and it's destroying relationships. So I'm at ground zero working with these guys. And doing hands-on treatments, and also have a number of programs and ebooks. And I'm here in Perth so that I can talk to Holly about getting into high schools back in Melbourne, because that's really important to me.
Beautiful. We will be juggling around, a few questions. We'll ask each other questions, but I wanna start with Holly. You said that you're talking to kids about pornography at the age of 6?
Yes.
Did I hear that right?
Yes, you did.
Are you crazy or something? Or? That's what you get, yeah?
I get it all the time.
All right.
Unfortunately, and when parents hear that, they're absolutely shocked. And I had a person recently on my Facebook page, when I shared an article about children having seen pornography, a parent wrote, oh, you're just, beating this up, which is a terrible is a terrible analogy when you're talking about pornography. But she was saying, you're just beating this up to flog your books. And I wish that was the case, but I'm not.
We were just talking earlier about how difficult it is to actually make money out of that field. Yeah.
And and I fund all the resources myself. But it's needed, and it was really highlighted when I was in a school with 32 7-year-olds. And I don't call it pornography when I'm working with children. I call them private pictures or private movies. And it's part of the public and private lesson where we're brainstorming your body parts and things like that. So we've gone through the whole lesson, and at the end of the lesson, I've stood in the doorway to let all the 32 7-year-olds go out to play, and 8 children stayed behind. And I said, come on, off you go and play, I want a cup of tea. And they said, no, miss, we need to see you. And they all came up one at a time, telling me how they had already seen porn on YouTube. Not one of the 8 children had told a parent for fear of getting into trouble or having the device taken away. And here for the first time was this lady talking about this stuff. So I don't call it porn, and as we're going through, I'll show you how I talk to little children about it. But I'm hearing all these experts, cyber experts, saying it's so difficult, it's so hard. It isn't. It's if we have it early and simple enough, by simply saying to a 6-year-old, if you see pictures or movies with people with no clothes on, come and tell mum.
Simple.
That's not hard.
I think the problem there is the lack of sex education, full stop.
Absolutely.
So if there's sex education, that just ties into part of it, and it makes it easy. But parents aren't educating their children young or holistically about sexual health. They might be covering the basics, how babies are made, but nothing about pleasure or consent or the opposite sex or anything. It's terrible. So, yeah.
And when you look at the statistics in Australia, latest statistics shows that 1 in 10 porn users is under the age of 10. So it really makes sense to speak to kids at the age of 6, 7 to start raising some awareness or start educating them in this area. What's the most, before I ask this very interesting question, I want to go to Catherine for a minute. Sure. Catherine, you are dealing with men mostly. Like that's your speciality. You're treating men who are addicted to pornography. Is that right?
That's right.
Are you crazy also or something like that?
It's not an easy thing to do.
It's difficult, isn't it?
It's not. It's like taking candy away from the baby. That men don't understand that they have a problem, let alone that porn is addictive. They don't even understand how you can be addicted to porn, that it's a problem, that it causes problem in their body or relationships. So when I come along, I'm the first point of that, and the usual reaction is a protective one, a defensive one, if say they're not having sex in their relationship, then porn is their only thing, their only outlet to a sexual outlet. And if I say to them, well, that's no good either, it leaves them in a situation where they either have to confront their issues in their relationship or leave. So it's very confronting for people because it's not just about the porn, it's about everything else.
But isn't it dangerous for you as a lady to treat men who are already addicted to pornography, and perhaps you will become like a trigger for them? Did you notice something like that? Were you threatened one day by a man who tried to
so
harm
I've
you in
been
any way?
sexually harassed a lot in this industry. It's mainly on text though, so I've got a very strict screening process, and as you go along you learn very quickly how to pick out, the bad ones, I guess, and the ones with the right intentions and the wrong intentions. It has taken years for that to kind of swing around, and since I've been declaring that I'm working in porn addiction, it has changed everything. When you talk about sexual health, that's a whole other thing. So you get a lot of untoward men contacting you for various reasons. So, I get sent pictures and photos and text messages and requests, and, I've had a few people try and touch me in person and make comments, and, I get attacked online all the time. It's kind of a really dark, wounded space to be working in.
Wow, yeah. So are you in a plan to shift the focus a little bit so that you can avoid these harassments?
Yeah, so it has shifted already, but the more that I talk about it publicly on video, for example, the more people find me for the right reasons. So when they contact me, they already know they have a problem, they know why they have a problem, and they already know what my solution is, which is great. So that has changed, but I'm steering the business towards teenagers because I've got 17-year-olds that are already impotent that are coming through. I've met a 16-year-old that masturbates 36 times a day and watches porn every single time, every day. Every day.
Oh, that's new to me. I've been in this field for about 12 years.
It's a record.
The biggest number or the largest number for a person who told me that he pleasured himself all night was 8 times. That was the biggest number, and that's already a severe addiction in the field.
Yes.
So 36 times a day, that's break.
So 8 was the highest I'd heard, and use that analogy in my client sessions to explain, everything's on a scale, and this is, we're trying to bring you back into normal, and this is the extreme and the extreme, but this is taking it to a whole new level.
Yeah.
And that when that boy contacted me, I knew that the business was just about to swing into a different direction. So he's actually gone from doing that every day, being suicidal, anxiety, depression, a whole lot of stuff going on there, feeling so much shame and feeling like he's a complete creep when it comes to girls his own age and never been on a date, never kissed anyone, yet he's seen like things that, a ridiculous amount of content. But the good news is he's 6 weeks clean, and we haven't even done a program yet. We've just had a conversation.
You see, I want to just have an insight on this. You see, people go to pornography with the beginning, from the start, with the intention of enhancing their sexual ability, learning some techniques so that they can perform well with their partners. They ended up having no sex whatsoever. That's the dangerous trap of pornography.
They actually withdraw.
Yeah.
It's the opposite.
Yeah. Holly, I have a client who told me her story. She's 31 now. Let's call her Sarah. That's not her real name, but she got exposed to pornography at the age of 7. And not only that, but her parents were having intercourse while watching pornography. And that was the start of, a whole journey of prostitution, addiction to pornography herself, addiction to drugs, because she wanted to get her life numb completely. What's your advice to parents who casually interact sexually in front of their little kids?
Well, it's illegal to begin with.
Yeah.
If adults are watching porn and children are in the room, that is child abuse. And if a child went to school and told their teacher that was happening, then the school would be required to make a mentor report about that and send somebody in. People think that children don't understand, but of course they do. And basically, monkey see, monkey do. So if kids are seeing it or hearing it and things like that, they'll be curious. But what I'm seeing more and more of in my experiences is children actually acting it out on other children as well. So, parents need to be aware that, of course, kids are curious about this stuff. And just like you said, Catherine, we fail at sex education. When I was, the most interesting lesson that I've done I had teenage boys, and I had 50 14-year-olds, and when they said, I've walked into the classroom to do my lesson, and within 2 minutes of me being in a class, a boy's put up his hand and said, Miss, I've got a question. I said, well, I normally give you some information and ask questions. He said that he asked me straight up, Miss, why do so many women like anal sex? And then I said, well, I'm going to answer that, but before I do, how many of you young men have had sex? And they're going, you haven't even kissed a girl yet.
Yeah.
And so I said, we went into in depth a lot, and I won't go into it now. But I said, why would young men look at that? Oh, to learn technique, Miss, to learn style. So just as you said before, kids think that that's the education that they need, but they don't understand that is there.
There's no alternative.
No, there isn't, and we're failing children. So we need to have, just as you said, Catherine, respect for relationships education, not sex education. They've already seen it. They know the plumbing, but we need to do that, the beautiful consent and pleasure and the stuff that, how to break up. How to ask somebody out. We don't teach children that.
How to deal with rejection. Yeah, what's an orgasm? Like, no one ever teaches that in sex ed. So,
one thing we wanted to move on is the fact that there are some countries which we call from the West third world countries who have taken too much steps ahead of us in terms of educating the masses about the dangerous effects of porn. One that comes to mind is Nepal. Nepal had banned completely pornography because they believed that it had raised the rate of rape by 300% in the past 10 years. That's really scary figure. So they say, no, this is something really dangerous to the community. So they banned completely pornography. I'm not a fan, or I'm not calling for banning pornography because I know it's impossible. It's not going to happen. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. So it will be there for the rest of our lives. But what can we do as governments, as people in power, to put some restriction on the usage of pornography, especially for young minds?
Well, the age verification you know more about that. But when people log into these porn sites, that they actually have to provide ID to verify their age. Back in the day when the internet first came out, you'd log into a porn site, it would ask you how old you were if you were 18, and you just click yes, and that was it, and you're in. And giving a credit card. Back then it was very difficult to get access to porn when the internet first came out. I know because we tried, you know, as 19-year-olds. So, but then, you know, these days, you don't have to go onto any porn site. It is everywhere. It's all over YouTube. It's all over Google. You can, you know, Google.
And backward, like static pictures. Now it's live.
It's just constant streaming and, you know, and ads that are popping up on Facebook and Instagram, and, you know, it doesn't matter where you are. It's everywhere. You know, on Instagram especially, there's a massive problem with people, these untoward people, these pornographic accounts are sending requests to children. They send them to me all the time, and you have a look and you think, hang on a sec, why don't they have any followers? Why don't they have any photos? And then sure enough, you get a private message with a video of the woman masturbating, or there's people having sex. So, you know, it's there and it's hidden, but then it's also available, like at a press of a button.
So you're with the move of the UK. The UK.
I don't believe. Yes, definitely age verification, but I still don't believe that's going to even scratch the surface because it's all free and it's all there on Google. If Google doesn't do anything about it, you know, we don't expect the porn industry to stop. It's like going after the drug dealers when it comes to drugs. You know, it has to come down to individual choice and people wanting to stop because they understand what the damage that it's doing.
So awareness and education is very important around this area.
Yeah, and I just think that you know, we need to educate parents, and the boys need to know what this is doing to their bodies. I think that's the key because when they stop, everybody stops. So when the teenagers stop watching, then it affects the girls, and then for the rest of their lives they're educated. Whereas, you know, I'm dealing with men with 50-year porn addictions. I'm at the other end of it at the moment. And it's very difficult to change that. That's a long-term brain damage there. So,
Holly, government's role.
Where do I start?
I know.
We were supposed to have a Senate inquiry into the effects of pornography on children, and this was around the last election time, unfortunately. And so we had an early election. The Senate inquiry didn't go ahead. There were I forget now, over 300 submissions, might have been 400 submissions, anyway, a lot of submissions made to them. I submitted a paper, as did all of these other people, but there was only somebody, because the Senate inquiry didn't go ahead, so they just handed them to somebody who read through them and made 4 recommendations. Now, my little submission, I'd made 4 recommendations. And it's just nothing's happened. The government have just given, I don't know if you're aware that they've given one of the universities here in Western Australia a grant to do a study, but the study is from, I think it's from 14 to 17-year-olds.
Yeah, they ignored that.
Not my problem. I want to know how many 6-year-olds have seen it, because as the statistic I showed you before, you know, 8 of 32.
Once the damage happened there,
that's right.
It's a lifetime misery.
We know, well, you know, you know how many 14-year-olds are seeing it. I need to know how many children are seeing it, and until our government, until somebody's brave enough, I've been lobbying both state and federal ministers about this, as have other people, and it's just not on their radar. And until people, you know, stand up and say, you know, we've got ICE, we've got DV, and then porn is our country's 3rd biggest problem. People get on board, because otherwise we're losing generations of young people.
Well, when the number one cause, and I'm stating this as a global health crisis, because there is not one person that I have treated for porn addiction that doesn't have mental health issues. And when you look at the suicide rates of men, and it's so high in Australia and across the world, why is it all of a sudden so high? Why is it creeping up? Why isn't it reducing? And I believe that, I mean, these guys have massive addictions in the brain, and it's affecting, you know, the control panel of their brain. It's affecting their decision making and their sexuality and all of these parts of their lives, and they just can't get a grip because there's this chemical addiction in their brain. So, yeah, it's
just by the way, the brain damage that happens as a result of porn addiction is not only limited to men. So even in the latest studies in Indonesia, I was just in Indonesia a couple of months ago for the same campaign. I met a lady by the name of Ailey Risman. Ailey Risman has taken the study of the Cambridge, on the MRI scanning, and she discovered that those children who were picked, the prefrontal cortex was shrunk by 4+ % of its actual size, which affects, of course, our level of focus, our level of motivation, our level of willpower, and so on. So that's the most important part, actually, in the brain. So it's not limited to men only. It's also it has an impact on women as well.
And I mean, even if women watch porn, it's kind of not a sexual addiction. People think it's linked. I mean, it's obvious that it's linked to sex, but porn isn't sex, and sex isn't porn.
Absolutely.
And once the addiction starts, it's a neural addiction. It actually has nothing to do with what they're watching. The content is kind of irrelevant because it's taking them on a path of more and more brain damage, and that affects women just the same as men. So,
But also, when we met yesterday and you were going through your new book for teens, it was really interesting. I was really interested to hear about the other chemicals in our brain, like the zinc and things like that, the depletion of that, and the effects on the body.
Yeah, so I've been researching ejaculation and how good that is for you. I mean, I know from an energy perspective when we talk about qi in the work that I do that it's not healthy for you to release qi, expel qi, because you're releasing energy and energy levels, which decreases your sexual energy as well. So it has the opposite effect of men think, they're highly sexually aroused and they're always looking for sex and no one can keep up with them, but it's actually having the opposite effect on them. So they're losing their erections, they're losing their sexual energy, they're losing their qi. But what they're actually doing medically is losing a lot of minerals and important nutrients in the body. So losing half their zinc intake in one ejaculate. And we don't make zinc in the body. We actually have to get it from foods or supplements, and it's the #1 supplement for men because it's in charge of all the testosterone and the sperm count and all of that stuff. So these guys are losing zinc and selenium, and then up goes the copper toxicity, which is responsible for mental health issues, the numbness of the brain, all of the acne and the tiredness and all of the things that we're seeing in porn addicts is possibly a copper toxicity as well. So there's a lot of...
Wow. To me, with all these complications, because you guys come from the medical perspective, but for me, the worst thing that could happen to any man is erectile dysfunction.
Yeah.
I mean, you are going to porn, as we said earlier, you're going to porn because you want to learn techniques so that you can perform well with your spouse, with your partner, but you end up doing nothing, having no arousal whatsoever. And this is, I remember in 2002, there was a statistic, they said that men who are hit with erectile dysfunction, mostly having diabetes, and that's why they don't have erection. But in 2006, 7, 8, around this area, with the rise of YouTube, it rise so high by 30% for men age 18 to 40. That's scary. We never heard of a person with erectile dysfunction below 40 back in 2000.
No, it used to be something that happened when you had too many drinks, and that was it. That's how we grew up. That was, and it might happen once or twice in your life for all my male friends. And now it's, I would say, I'm guessing, but it's between 90 and 95% of men that I see. It's really high. So I have researched.
Men.
I have researched. Part of my research, I think it came back 45% or 50% were having erectile dysfunction. But what they don't realise is they are getting erect for porn. So you take away the porn and ask them to masturbate without the porn. There's no arousal, there's no sexual energy, there's no erection.
Or with a partner, so it's either way. Yeah.
So with a partner, though, it sometimes happens that the thrill or the chase of that dopamine hit is often captured say in a marriage that they're only having sex once a month, it's such a special occasion and it's such a freaky thing for it to happen that it kind of plays into the addiction. So it's exciting, and the guys normally have premature ejaculation in those cases, so it goes both ways. But what I'm trying to do is get guys, if you take away sex and porn, what are you actually left with? And it's erectile dysfunction, 90% of cases. And these guys are coming to see me and they don't think they have a problem until I give them some homework, and then we find out for real what's actually happening there. So it's very, very high.
Wow. Holly, let's go back to children now.
Okay.
This is intense. It's getting intense.
Sorry. It's always the way with me.
Yeah, we need, I've made an oath within myself that I will speak the truth about what we have discovered, no matter what happened to us, because as you know, we get a lot of hate messages, threats sometimes. I was once on my, I received a phone call, my wife was next to me, I answered the phone innocently, and I got this son of this and that, and you're gonna this and that, and we're gonna do this and this. So that was my wife was next to me, and she's supporting what I do, but hearing that somebody's threatening her husband makes her feel every day I go out to talk about what I'm passionate about is a threat, is a scary thing. But anyway, we do what we need to do, because I believe, like how they discovered that cigarette cause cancer, I believe they would start promoting this sooner or later. So let us be at least a plant that will grow later on. We may not witness the fruit of what we did, but at least we plant something.
Absolutely.
Pioneers.
Yep.
Yeah,
Leaving
let's
a legacy.
just take part, and whatever happens anyway. Holly, the children. Catherine mentioned earlier about the rise of child-on-child sexual abuse. What is the scariest story that you've ever heard related to this problem?
Unfortunately, a group of children acting out what they've seen using sticks on a 4-year-old.
Wow.
It's and
How do you know this? Like, parents approach you telling you this?
the school approached me, wanting me to come in and.
So this happened in the school, within
No, in a community, in the community. But the school's gone. It's a huge problem. We need to address this. So it's
Do you find that there's higher incidence of that in rural communities where there's more lack of education?
To be honest,
or is it just across the board?
It's across the board.
Yeah.
I have parents all the time ringing me saying, Holly, my child's come home from school, and another boy, 6 years of age, in the toilets was trying to get him to suck his penis and stuff like that. So it's across the board, unfortunately. We don't actually have a full grasp of how big this problem is, because the children, if they're under the age of 10, it's not a police matter. I had a mum contact me. Her 4-year-old was abused at a childcare in a family daycare setting by the carer's 8-year-old son. And it goes across all socioeconomic areas, all nationalities, unfortunately.
And the court system, as I know, I've personally been in it for this reason. It has affected our life, and we had no hope in court. Even with a lawyer, we were told that there was no forensic evidence and the child was under 10, and it was just hearsay kind of thing. So we're left with the damages of that. And there's nobody out there helping anyone around this in the court or legal system. The police, there's nobody there either. So it's a new thing for them, but it's quadrupled in Australia in the last 4 years. It's the statistics are huge, and they're only the reported cases. You're always looking at a lot more, below the surface kind of thing. So,
and that's been my experience. Schools are either, when it's being reported to the schools, principals are either saying, it couldn't possibly happen because we supervise the kids too well, or that's normal behaviour for children that age, and we're talking about either oral or digital penetration. We're not talking about you show me yours, I'll show you mine, which is normal behaviour for children. It's so much more than that.
It's beyond that.
Or it's just, just been swept under the carpet. So we don't have a true picture of what that's like, unfortunately.
And they don't really know how to handle it themselves when all parents don't know either. They're very protective of their children. So as soon as there's an accusation, it's like defence mechanism, and my child would never do that.
That was my next point, because I wanted to know why would you actually stop us from doing what we do, knowing that these things are happening on a daily basis. And one of them is that everyone is perfect parents. Every school is perfect school. Everyone knows these things doesn't happen within our boundaries. So how can we reach those people and provide really the necessary education for them to move and do something? You just shared with me that you were providing a free workshop, isn't it? Like, for
on Monday.
On Monday, and 4 parents only have shown up. 4 parents to show them how to protect their children from falling into all these mental illnesses and all these rubbish that we'll be talking about. And only 4 parents are concerned. This is something like beyond my understanding. I don't understand how parents would not be concerned, how schools would not be concerned.
I think it's ignorance. They don't actually understand, unless it's happened to them or they've heard it happening to someone else. I think there's this blanket ignorance of, I'm sure it's out there, but it's not relevant to me until it is relevant to them, and then it's a totally different story.
That's exactly what happens when parents approach us. They approach us when things are going beyond their control.
At crisis point. And it's, my child's a good child, I'm a good parent. It's not about being a good child or a good parent. If your child is on technology, they're going to see it, hands down. That's why we have to start so young. And I know parents don't want to think about it, but it doesn't have to be scary. The way that I explain it to children is, as I said before, they're private pictures or private movies. And even with 6-year-olds, you can do brain science stuff with them. One of the things, I get my fingers and say to the children, your brains are still growing. We have to put healthy food into our body to grow up big and strong. We need to put healthy pictures into our mind to grow up big and strong. And in your brain, you've got all these connections. But if you see pictures or movies with people with no clothes on, it changes the connections in your brain. 6-year-olds can understand that. And I explain to them about, your brain creates dopamine. So if you're running around, a little bit of dopamine to say keep running around, or if you eat chocolate, a little bit of dopamine. But if you see pictures or movies with people with no clothes on, it's like a flood, and it's not healthy for your brain. And because your brain likes that feeling, it keeps going back and looking at more and more. That's not hard to explain to a 6-year-old.
No.
They love it. They love brain science stuff.
And I'm dealing with the men that were looking at pornography from age 5. Age 5, 6, 7. One of them, the one that was masturbating every day for 36 times, he was exposed to Men's Health magazines when he was 5, and he was actually encouraged by his father to masturbate. And he did, right from the age of 5. So, these men, 1 in 4 men has been sexually abused by a family friend. There is all of these people in society who are acting out these sexual acts on children, and also colleagues and friends and things like that, because that's what they've learnt and seen, and it's normal for them, or someone's done it to them, so they're doing it to someone else. It's just this cycle that just keeps going and going. And it all just starts with pornography. It all comes back to that. And if we can't...
The most unspoken about topic.
The one thing...
that we don't talk about much, it's causing all these problems. So we talk about the effects of porn on children, on mental health, on men, the physical health of men, how men are learning aggression against women as a result of watching these filthy things. In your careers, both of you, this is a question for both of you, what's the worst case that you have seen in terms of mental health, in terms of parents, being shocked with something that happened to their children as a result of pornography? Do you recall any case that shook you to the core? Like in my case, for example, one of the things that shook me, actually it got me started, is the 18-year-old boy who wanted to commit suicide. And immediately when he said that I wanted to kill myself, I remember myself at that age. When I was 18, I was full of life. Like life for me was everything. And here's someone in that age wanted to kill himself because of pornography. because he can't control himself, he can't have erection, and he can't focus on the exams and so on and so forth. So he's doing all right now. But the other case is my friend who was jailed as a result of attempting to rape someone on a school campus. And you would be surprised to know that this man was a religious person. He was very religious. And this is something else for the viewers to know, that pornography does not discriminate.
No.
There's not no religion, there's not no background. It hit everyone.
Anyone with a brain.
And as a result, he was sent to jail for 1.5 years. So we are talking about something really damaging to the society here. So in your case, you have stories.
I think one comes to mind especially around the mental health, was that he was suicidal every single day for 3 months, he told me. He didn't tell me initially. I found this out later on. I've actually done a video about him. It's on my webpage. It's all a true story. He was sitting in a Bunnings car park when he contacted me and said, I need help and can I get in now? And it just so happened that I had availability. So he came in. He was only 27, had been watching porn for a long time and had just got married. So I think he'd been married a year. But his partner had decided that she didn't want to have sex anymore. So he was running on empty, and he had a very, high-pressured job as well. So it was the job and the marriage and, the white picket fence, and now we're going to have babies, but there was no sex in his life, and he was just addicted to this pornography. And when he came in, it was a huge turnaround, and he turned his life around instantly because of my treatment. So it was amazing. But these guys have been suicidal, whether they admit it or not, for a long time. It's they get into these depressive holes where they binge on porn for like 4 hours at a time, 5 hours, whole day sessions. I've got men that are highly successful. They have amazing families and kids and all of that stuff. They've got it all together, but once a month they'll sit in their man cave and watch porn for like 8 hours straight just to escape. So men are using it for many, many things, and it's not anything to do with sex, actually.
Where to start?
Many stories and all.
I know.
If we started this section, it would take us like a few episodes.
Exactly. But I suppose what I'm seeing and hearing from parents is the teenage young boys, and one story that I'll tell that was relayed to me was of a 14-year-old young man who was left home to babysit his 5-year-old sister and her 5-year-old friend that was having a sleepover. They're on a mattress in front of Disney watching movies. He's on the couch watching pornography. They fall asleep. He gets it into his brain. I wonder what it would be like to ejaculate on a woman's face, and does onto the little 5-year-old's face, the sister's friend's face. This young man's life, from that one split second, has been changed so dramatically. He'll be on a sex offender register. He has to have all this counselling. Everybody knows what's happened, and just this one instant
destroys lives.
And so many stories like that of, when if teenagers touch their siblings and things like that, the ramifications on the family. And what I'm hearing from parents a lot too is also children on the autistic spectrum in their teens. Because they don't know, as well as their teen brain, they don't know social norms and things like that. And so, the ramifications on the family where somebody has to leave the family. So does the mum let the autistic child go, or do they, the other child is taken away and put into care, and all of these different things. There is nowhere for young people to go if they've thought, I wonder what it would be like to touch my 9-year-old sister. One of the things that I do with children is, with all classes, is we ring the kids' helpline. Now, in the last 6 years, the kids' helpline number has had over 360 young people contact them saying that they feel like they're going to touch their sibling and things like that. There's nowhere for them to go. And because the way the media covers pedophiles and this, that and the other, they're not pedophiles. They've just had this idea. But where would they go? And so,
some people, they call kids pedophile.
Yes. I've had a principal ring me. A 6-year-old boy was caught in the toilet touching another 6-year-old little boy's penis. And then the school handled it really well. And then they got ran out of the school. And then the parents rang the new school to say, did you know you've got a pedophile in your...
Wow.
They're not pedophiles at 6. They're just children that don't know the rules. And I had to write a book for that very reason.
Wow. You know, a note for those who are watching us. I know that the conversation is very difficult to swallow for some. It's very, very hard to hear all this conversation. Very, very difficult to take all that in all of a sudden. But this is what's happening in reality. This is the real life situations we're talking about. And I believe that when these things are happening in such a prevalent way, it's no longer a taboo.
It can't be.
It's no longer a topic that we should sweep under the carpet. It is the time to move. That's why I'm really calling out those who are in power, those who are in government positions, who could at least help us to reach out as many people as possible to provide this education. We're not talking here by providing a theory. We have established scientific facts to prove that pornography could destroy lives.
Yep.
What are we waiting for? I don't understand.
Definitely.
Our kids need us. You know, we have to, like you said, we have to act now because, you know, my fear is those 14-year-old boys they tell me they're watching 2 hours a week of pornography. In 10, and they describe the most, young men don't have filters, they just tell you stuff. And girls are very reserved, but the young fellas that I work with just tell you stuff. And they describe the most heinous things that they're seeing. And all they can say is, but miss, it's just so funny. My worry is in 10 years, these young men are going to be our future police, doctors, nurses, and parents. And they're being so desensitised. And so I have to say to them, that's somebody's sister, that's somebody's daughter. It's not just a piece of meat that you can, you know, they're not understanding that. And they'll say, oh, we know it's not real, miss. But our brains can't tell the difference between doing something and seeing something. That's why athletes visualise winning the race.
That's right.
So, you know, they might say out loud, we know they're actors, but their brain still doesn't know that.
That's why my second ebook, I was going to just rewrite the first one. The first one was for adults, and it was a very, you know, blunt account of what was happening out there with porn addiction. And I asked a number of parents to look at it and give me some feedback. And when no one got back to me, I just thought something's going on here.
Zero feedback.
Zero feedback, even though they were very, very keen to get involved and they volunteered. So then I had a young man come in and see me. And I said to him, I'm going to give you my ebook. He was nearly 18. I thought, oh, it should be okay, you know. And here I was nervous around the word penis and ejaculation and masturbation. And he took it home. And when he left, I realised that that boy had seen things that I would never have even imagined happening, you know, and same with the parents. These kids are seeing way more than we could even imagine. And the only way to find out what they're seeing is to go down that rabbit hole yourself, and no one wants to do that. So the second ebook was rewritten and composed from, you know, the question, what do I want them to know? And that's where it's coming from. It's
so this focus on teenagers.
Yep, and it's teaching them all parts of what we've talked about today, about consent, about sexting, about the legal ramifications.
When is your book coming up?
The next couple of days. Yep.
Beautiful. So how can people get hold of the book?
So we'll put a link up under the video.
So our pages, for those who wanted to follow us, Holly Ann Martin, she has 2 pages. One is personal page under her name, Holly Ann Martin. We will get all these written on the screen. Safe for Kids is her Safe for Kids, her company, and this is the platform that she's working under. And Catherine Lyell, that's her name, and Integrated Men's Health is her company. Mine is Wael Ibrahim, and I'm working under the umbrella of the AWARE campaign, now the AWARE Academy. Let's get back to let's get to the AWARE conference that's going to happen in Sydney. Catherine, unfortunately, you're not part of the speaking panelists this time. However, there is a sixth speaker who was supposed to be with us but unfortunately she apologized.
Okay.
So there are
Oh.
chances, so expect some
Hopefully.
email or something.
Okay, that sounds good.
But
So
the
what-
AWARE
what-
conference,
Yep. What date is that?
it's on the 29th of June 2016. So it's coming up next month, end of next month. The beautiful part of that conference is that it really the speakers in particular, they come from really different backgrounds. We have Michael Flood, we have Liz Walker, we have Holly Ann Martin, myself, and the surprise is Gabe Dean coming all the way from the United States of America. And why Gabe is special in that conference? Because he's one of the earliest boys who discovered erectile dysfunction as a result of his porn-induced use.
Yep.
So the AWARE campaign, how excited are you and what are you planning to present during the talk? And by the way, just to give a background about the conference, so this conference, the plan is 12 years from now or even more. Each year we will tackle or we will focus only on a particular area. So this year we will start with the impact of pornography on children. That's what we're going to focus on. Okay. Next year, or maybe every 6 months, if the conference became successful and there was a demand, we will make it even every 6 months. We'll focus on teenagers, then we come and focus on relationships and how pornography can damage sexual relationships, marital relationships, and so on. We will focus on scientific discoveries after that, and so on and so forth, for 12 years or even more. Your presentation.
So it'll be pretty similar to what I've talked about now, you know, what I'm seeing, what children are telling me, real life experiences, because even back to what you were saying, Catherine, with when we say pornography to adults, they think of pornography when they were children.
Yep.
They don't realise what children are seeing now. They think it's a stick magazine under the big brother's bed or in dad's cupboard.
They think it's about sex, like actual sex, not violence and all of the other things.
So, you know, to be able to give real life stories of what children are seeing, talking about, but I'll be calling out, we need specialised therapists and things like that for these young, for children.
To provide the necessary cure. And that was the last part that we want to close with, is there any hope for those who are suffering in silence?
Absolutely.
What can we do to help those people who are really watching us now and need help? And after they heard all of the drama, they may feel like, oh my God, there is no hope. No, there is hope, there is solution.
Absolutely.
Just reach us out and we will help you out. But
And also, you know, what I do in my program with children, we need to help children have a safety team of adults that they can go to if they've seen these images. You know, it may not be their mum or their dad because they think they'll take their iPad away. So we need to give children strategies of who else could you go to if you saw something that, you know, and not just pornography, whether it's violence, whether it's horror. There are all of these things in technology where even 3-year-olds go, you know, there's stuff on YouTube for kids where, you know, people have put in violent things or...
You even mentioned to me once that you have seen a video on YouTube where there are the Minecraft characters acting
in different
the
sexual positions.
And that's on YouTube. Like, you know, there's no... That's scary. That's scary, guys.
Yeah.
All right, Catherine, I know that you've been very big fan of the AWARE campaign since its start. Why is that so? I mean, we have maybe different visions and different approaches. Why you were so keen to...
Because I feel like I've been the only person doing this, definitely in Melbourne, and it was so great to find out that there was another person, you know, doing this, and then to find out there was Holly, and then yesterday found out some more contacts that I could speak to, and, you know, networking with these people. As I said before, I'm at ground zero. Like, I am hands-on treatment, and some of my treatments we can actually get guys off porn in one session. It's really effective. It's very hard to explain, so I won't do it now, but they can get in touch with me over that. I also have programs, so there's a 30-day program which is all online, so there's no contact with me at all, and that's normally a starting point for guys that not sure if they have a porn addiction or not, and they're not really wanting to come in and speak to me about it because they're embarrassed. I often find guys, when they land on my doorstep, they've already given up the porn because they've seen this video and that article and whatever, so they wanted to kind of get their ducks in a row before they came in to see me, and that's very common. And then I have a 90-day program which is weekly coaching with me. So the aim is to rewire the brain. That's the number one thing that we need to do.
Which is possible, and that's the field of neuroplasticity, and from there comes the word plastic, which means you can actually mold and remold and rechange and train your brain. So Holly, is there any upcoming book coming? I heard that there are some new projects coming up. Is there...
Just writing, as well as the 5 children's books I've written. I do need to write a book about consent for very young children. There are several in the market, but for me, I just like to tweak them. I'm writing a whole curriculum for teaching abuse prevention education to children in remote communities, and a curriculum to sit alongside the one that I've already written for early years, but this is for children with special needs.
Beautiful. We don't want to make really the interview long. What is your favorite part of your job? And that will be a question for all of us. I'll start by myself. There are a lot of things favorite in what I do. One of them is I was called pornologist lately.
Pornologist.
I'm happy that we have more pornologists on.
It's better than the porn lady.
I'm the porn lady as well.
I think of the porn lady.
Porn lady.
Or the feminist.
Porn man and stuff like that. No, but one of the greatest moments is when someone say, finally, I found somebody addressing this issue. And when they cling in you, like, you are the source of salvation, kind of thing, that's my best part of what I do. Yourself?
Mine is, as I said, my treatments are very effective, the hands-on stuff, and to get the text message the next day, because I always follow up and just saying, I don't feel like watching porn. I feel like my head is clear. And I post those things online all the time so that other people can see that these guys have stepped up. That's the biggest problem, is they're not stepping up, or they're not acknowledging it. So to actually turn up is a huge victory for them. And then all they have to do is what I do with guys every single day, and we go through the process. And then for them to just be mind blown as to what they've learnt and how they feel, and that they don't watch porn for months at a time after that is just gold for me. And that I put that responsibility back on them, and that they've stepped up. That's my biggest, reward.
Your favourite part?
Oh, mine's not as grand as yours. Mine's quite simple.
Working with kids is big enough.
I've been working in some remote communities in the early part of this year, and I'm really proud because we've made 4 songs with Aboriginal kids talking about, and my favourite one is the song about consent, and it's been shared all over the world. We had family planning from Victoria wanting to use it in their lesson plans for grade 6s and things like that.
Awesome.
So if people do go on and check them out, please leave the children a message of what you've thought about the song, but also where in the world you're from, because the children
can you share with us later the link for the song so we can perhaps add it?
But they just got words like I have rights, and they're just
at least
really
the
good
lyrics
message.
so we can share with the people. Beautiful. As you can see, I am a bearded man from a Muslim background. I've been a friend with Holly for a couple of years. She entered my house, we ate together. I don't know her religion. Catherine, I just met today in person. I've been in touch with her on the internet. I have no idea what belief she belongs to, but we came together because we have a common message, a common mission, and that is to protect people from the harmful impact of pornography. So as I said, don't be threatened by my beard. Some people, when they see, this is for...
It's religion.
And by the way, like Gabe Dean, Reboot Nations and NoFap communities, they're by the millions, but the members there who are seeking help are by the millions, men and women alike. Most of them, they came there not because of religion or any moral obligations. They came because they are suffering mostly from porn-induced erectile dysfunction. So this has got nothing to do with religion. It's just we are after that monster that's disturbing every segment of the society. Thank you so much, Catherine.
Thank you.
It's lovely meeting you in person, and welcome to Perth.
Yes, thank you.
Holly, it's been a pleasure as always, and we thank you all for your patience, and I hope that you can take action. Get in touch with us. Don't hesitate. We respond to our calls. See you.
Thanks.
Stay tuned.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.